Welcome to the Survivor Series prediction show. We're going to do a little bit of Smackdown as well, but it's going to be mostly us going over Survivor Series. So Survivor Series will be taking place in Rogers Arena in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. As of right now, the company has distributed 16,410 tickets. There will be 878 tickets remaining. That's as of recording of this video. It will likely be sold out by the time the show actually airs. Very interesting. They're doing pretty good business. Cody Rhodes is running around calling it the record era. I don't know about all that. The only thing I can say is that inflation is a sumbitch, you know. But business ain't going too bad. I'm pretty sure it's not doing too bad, but it does feel a little inflated, but we'll see if this, they've been on a hot streak all year for the most part, going to international markets, and really boosting business because, you know, things have been sagging here in the United States. Obviously, it's the inflation, but they also been doing these, dynamic pricing, which is something that, no doubt is a Ticketmaster gimmick, where if the show was popular, you have to pay more, and then the costs come down and all this sort of stuff. It's ridiculous, but there's all kinds of gimmicks involved with this. But I don't want to take away from their success. I don't want to seem like a hater. So they are having a successful show. 17,000 people in the building. That's not bad. If they're going to end up, even if they don't sell it out, if they get close, that's still pretty good. Okay, so that's where we are in terms of attendance. Let's get into the card. It's a 5-match card, 2 War Games matches, 2 singles matches, and a triple threat match. So a fairly balanced show, but again, no 5-on-5 striving to stay alive, no 4-on-4 wanting more, nothing in terms of what makes Survivor Series. And I feel like it has lost its identity. This event has been stripped of its identity. And it's unfortunate. It's Survivor Series in name only now. It's just basically a war game show, which is unfortunate because Survivor Series has such a rich history of debuts and guys having a huge last stand or a great standoff against somebody. You know, Undertaker had a great debut there. The Rock won his first world title. The Rock debuted at Survivor Series. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The big Cena Rock tag team match happened at Survivor Series, even though it underperformed. Shawn Michaels had a great stand at Survivor Series. I think it was 2003. You know, it was the great Undertaker return at Survivor Series. What was that, 2004 or 2005, when he was, you know, we chasing around Randy Orton? You know, there was some tremendous things that took place at Survivor Series. You know, the very first Elimination Chamber is a great show. And to see it basically be stripped of its identity because nobody takes seriously the elimination matches is quite, it sucks. And I pretty much do this every year. And I sound like an old head when I do it because most of the young people don't seem to care. They don't go back and revisit Survivor Series like they do WrestleMania or SummerSlam. And if they do go back to Survivor Series, they go back to the ancient Survivor Series. 91, 92, 89, etc., 1990. They don't watch Survivor Series 95 or Survivor Series 97. You know, Survivor Series 99 or 2001 or anything like that, because the matches for a long time were just thrown together and it was just a tradition. And people sometimes forget why traditions are traditions. So I get happy when I see older people talk about Survivor Series, but I always kind of cringe when it's not a recent Survivor Series. When it's not Survivor Series 2003 or 2002 or something. But when it's Survivor Series 1990, you know, because it's like that's the last time Survivor Series was really Survivor Series. Even though it was kind of still Survivor Series in 94 and 95, but it had turned goofy with like the doinks and the dinks and all that jazz. So I'm sitting here just kind of grumbling at Survivor Series not being Survivor Series, but sorry about that. Let's get into this show now. Match 1, LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura defeated Andrade El Idolo on SmackDown. He didn't win clean. Andrade ran into the top turnbuckle after the turnbuckle had been removed, so he had basically jammed his chest with metal. Nakamura was in better shape, even though he's wearing a full body suit. I don't understand what the facial expression is he's supposed to have in the render. It looks like he smells something really bad, like he walked into an onion factory or something like that. Okay, so let's talk about this match. Nakamura, his match against Andrade was his first match on SmackDown since April. That's a long time, guy. That's a long time. Now, Nakamura is still washed. He's still laundry. You know, he might be in better shape. I think he's looking better, but he's not. It's not going to be long term. I'm not going to be fooled by thinking Nakamura is some kind of main event guy. This is a perfect spot for him. He's a gatekeeper. He's been a gatekeeper since 2021, maybe even before that. He's been a gatekeeper for a long time. LA Knight, I don't know if this can elevate LA Knight because I don't know how many people really care about Nakamura. I do like Nakamura's remixed theme. All the remixes of his theme have been pretty good. This one is darker, fitting with the darkness of his character, even though we don't really know what he's supposed to be in terms of, this darker version of himself. Unlike everybody else, I'm not just a mark for Nakamura, even though I am a fan. I do want questions like, how do we get here? He said, oh, it was meditation. I'm like, meditation? What? So, he ended up spitting mist all over LA Knight after the match because all Japanese people can mist folks now. I mean, he's been doing this for quite a while now, but I don't know. He's dressed like he's from the Foot Clan all of a sudden. I don't know why. Why is he dressed, like Karai from the Foot Clan? I don't know, man. Whatever. I'm going to go with LA Knight winning the match. I don't think it's appropriate for Nakamura to just jump out of the shadows and win the title. I don't think Nakamura needs it, but I don't think this win actually helps LA Knight. LA Knight's been treading water. If you've ever seen somebody paddling with their face barely above drowning, that's what LA Knight is right now. They won't give him anybody who's over because there is nobody who's over. Because there's nobody who's over in the SmackDown mid card. And the reason is because they do stuff like what they did with Andrade today. And instead of putting a jabroni in there for Nakamura to beat, and beat convincingly, you got a bunch of people from NXT who all they got to do, they got fresh bodies. Just sitting on, I don't understand why they don't use some of those talents as jobbers on the main roster. And stop treating your mid-card guys like jobbers, because then they don't get over, You have a bunch of NXT talents who haven't really gotten started yet, haven't done anything. Send them out there to get beat up like young lions in New Japan. I want to go with LA Knight. Next match, Braun Breaker versus Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser. Triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. Soon we're going to have to say the Men's Intercontinental Championship. But right now it's just the Intercontinental Championship. I expect Braun Breaker to win and probably pin Ludwig Kaiser to do it because there's two heels in this match. I would love for Ludwig Kaiser to win the Intercontinental title. I think that would be excellent for his character. I think he's a great performer. But I don't think they want to put him in that position just yet because he's still attached to Gunther in a way. Even though Gunther kind of told him to make a name for himself and that he should speak for himself and all this sort of stuff. That would be a prime motivator for a guy to win a title. But Braun has not established himself yet. He can't lose the belt because he's not established yet. No doubt in my mind, Sheamus is going to get this title eventually. Will he get the title here? Maybe pinning Kaiser to get it. Well, it would be a feel-good moment, and I just don't want to put Braun back in the chase position. I really don't. But if they want to put Kaiser in there just so Sheamus can beat him, and then they could have Braun chase Sheamus, then we're in the same situation as before when he gets, he loses his title to somebody twice his age, even though it's not literally twice his age. And he has to chase the title back down. We did it with Sami Zayn, we did it with Jey Uso, and we're gonna have to chase the title back down. I think maybe you save Sheamus's Intercontinental Championship win for WrestleMania or some other kind of event. It's not needed here. So I'm going to go with Braun Breaker wins the triple threat match. All right, Women's War Games. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Io Sky, and Bayley versus the Judgment Days, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. So Bayley she's got snuck her way into the Women's War Games match. They have written Jade Cargill out. Now there is competing information. There's people, Dave Meltzer, saying that Jade Cargill is injured. Other people are saying Jade Cargill is not injured and that they just wrote her out of the match. Some people are saying she's going to be out for 3 months. Some people are saying she's going to be out longer than 3 months. But I can tell you this. If Dave Meltzer says that Jade Cargill is injured, then she probably is healthier than she's ever been in her life. She probably just got a clean bill of health. Her skin's glowing somewhere. Her nutrition is top notch. Hair shiny. Teeth perfectly white and cleaned. And probably grown right out of her head and not, Cody's teeth. So she's probably healthier than any other person walking around because Meltzer said that she was injured. But for some reason, they wrote Jade Cargill out of this match, which is very odd. But they did it for a storyline reason. So now Bayley is in. On the Smackdown show, they had a brawl between them where they were trying to, you guys don't really like each other. Look at Bianca. You don't like Bayley or Io. Look, what about Damage Control? What about this? What about that? It's like, we've already been through this, I think. But they ended up having a brawl, which was stupid and dumb and it led to nothing. It was cool to see Lash Legend take Jade Cargill's spot in the United States Championship tournament. So that was fun. I wish Lash Legend would have won, but I kind of figured Michin was going to win. But it was impressive seeing Lash Legend there. Putting Bayley in the War Games match, I mean, it is what it is. Triple H loves him some Bayley. Everybody loves Auntie Pam, but she being squeezed into places that she probably should not be. But there has to be a reason why they wrote Jade Cargill out of this match. I guess we'll see if she's really injured or not if they decide to strip Bianca of the title, which I also heard was going to happen. But it hasn't happened yet. And there's, as far as I know, no talk of it actually happening. So there is that. Now, who should win this match? To be quite honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Rhea Ripley doesn't just dog walk everybody on the other side. As much as I love Tiffany Stratton, I just don't see her as a legitimate. She's not being positioned as a legitimate threat. She's a poodle for Nia Jax now. She basically holds Nia Jax's purse. She's walking around with the money in the bank, and you kind of forget she even has it. So I think the baby faces will win, but it's not imperative that they win. I do think Liv Morgan needs to win something against Rhea Ripley. She lost the mixed tag match to Rhea Ripley. She lost at Bad Blood to Rhea Ripley by disqualification. I mean, Rhea Ripley has been physically dominant over Liv Morgan, has been pretty much dog walking Liv Morgan this entire feud, with very little time being spent looking vulnerable or weak of any kind. So, if Liv Morgan is going to maintain being the champion, then she probably needs to win this match. And she doesn't need to beat Rhea Ripley. She can beat somebody else. in order to win. Naomi is beatable, Bailey is beatable. So I would suggest that the heels go over here, but there's no guarantee. I actually would probably feel more comfortable saying that the babyfaces are going to go over. And I don't think we'll see what happened to Jade here. I think that the whole stuff with Jade is not going to be resolved immediately, unless I think they're going to drag that thing out. That being said, though, they're trying to plant the seeds that it was Bailey, that Bailey got into this War Games match right after Jade got taken out. But it's like, who cares about that? That's not really beneficial to Bailey's career, like to be in War Games. Like, so what? You don't get anything for winning, so it doesn't matter. So it ought to be interesting how they plan to do that and have all that wrapped up in here. But you have an exquisite amount of talent in this match, and they're all going to be confined in a cage with weapons. And I doubt anybody really gets over or anything really happens. I do expect Io to jump off the cage. Like, if I was going to do some kind of DraftKings bet, I would pretty much bet that Io and probably Tiffany are going to jump off the cage. I would imagine that's going to happen. Maybe Candice LeRae would jump off the cage. I know this is definitely something she probably would have done a couple of years ago. But Triple H sneaking in Candice LeRae and Bayley as two of his favorite girls. I see you, Chief. I see you. Next, Gunther versus Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight title. I will say this, I'm not looking forward to this. I have not been feeling the push of Damian Priest. I'm not all that interested in Damian Priest as a babyface. There's still that Judgment Day stuff floating around, so Finn Balor is likely going to interfere in this match. I don't care, and Gunther has been positioned as being sort of a coward and ineffectual. Like, Undertaker wanted him to show a little bit of cowardice so that he can maintain being a heel, and that was a good piece of advice. The issue that we have here now is that Damian Priest is not getting over on Gunther, really. His promos have not been all that strong. I don't think anybody's really clamoring to see the match between these two guys. And that World Heavyweight title just took a massive hit because Gunther got pinned by Cody Rhodes. And then they decided to use that in storyline as the reason why Gunther's confidence is shot, rather than Gunther being a heel, making an excuse, and then being as confident as ever. Oh yeah, Cody Rhodes beat me, but he pulled the tights. Yeah, Cody Rhodes won because I was jet lagged, or I ate some bad food or something. Just using an excuse to get out of why he lost. And instead of doing that, it was just kind of like Cody was the better man. I'm like, oh, hell no. I mean, that adds some depth to Gunther's character as he's the honorable pro wrestler's pro wrestler. But to the audience, they're like, okay, well, you're a jabroni? Like, you're a loser? You're a silver medalist? You are what everybody has said you were, and that is the Intercontinental Champion to the second power. You're not a world champion. But the problem here is the same problem that they've had throughout every title in the company. There are no credible contenders. There's no hot contenders. There's no belief that Gunther will lose. You've done all of this booking to make Damian Priest look as strong as possible. But nobody believes Gunther is going to lose. Not one person believes that Gunther is going to lose this match. And then the lopsided booking almost guarantees that Gunther is not going to lose this match. Virtually guarantees it. So Gunther is going to win. The main event, which should main event the show, the Bloodline, Roman Reigns and the Usos and Sami Zayn, along with CM Punk versus the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Tamatonga Tongaloa, and Bronson Reed, and Jacob Fatu. So Jacob Fatu won his match clean over Jey Uso. They banned all members from the Bloodline, either side, from the match. So Jey went through all the trouble of becoming Intercontinental Champion just to lose to Jacob Fatu, which they didn't even try to protect him. This is the situation they booked themselves in. You book Jey as a strong singles wrestler, only for him to just cough up to Jacob Fatu, which I guess makes Jacob look good, but doesn't make Jey look good. But whatever. I guess Jacob needed to win a little bit more, right? They did a sit down with Roman and Punk, and it was what you expected. It was cinematic in nature, with Roman getting to be, I don't know, Michael Corleone, which is what he wants to be, apparently. I don't like he's making me wait. I don't like that. Why is he making me wait? This man's playing with me. I'm like, oh my God, Roman. He's so dramatic. Super dramatic. Anyway, Punk only said that he's there to help their wise man. He's there for Paul. He's not there for Roman. Don't care about Roman. But if they want to revisit this after War Games, they can. And then he said that Paul will owe him a favor. Roman wants to know what that favor is. And Paul said, we'll talk about it after War Games. My tribal chief, sir. If you don't mind, kindly. Now, the babyfaces are absolutely going to win this match. Solo Sikoa, his run as the boss of the Bloodline has been mixed. He's a young talent, but probably too young for the position that they put him in. Too inexperienced. He was only a year out of NXT before they decided to make him a main event guy. And he hadn't really established himself in NXT. If I told you that Solo Sikoa was like the North American champion, you would have to search, to look who he beat for it and how did he lose it. He didn't lose it, by the way. He had to give it up. So he's not really distinguished in NXT. They called him up to be Mr. Hughes to Roman Reigns for a while. Then he occasionally, wrestled in matches, and then he started losing more than he won. Then he beat John Cena out of nowhere, and it's been all real downhill from there. He's trying his best, but he just doesn't have the experience, and he's kind of overexposed. He has a little bit more personality than I think people give him credit for, but Solo is wearing his daddy's shoes at this point, and it's not for the best. So everybody is kind of looking at this thing, and they're not really taking it seriously because Solo hasn't come across like a legitimate threat, and he just hasn't had the time to be established as a legitimate threat by the company before they thrust him in this position. Now that he's in the position, they've done a decent job of keeping him there, with the exception of him, losing main event matches all the time, losing to Cody and such. But he has pinned Roman Reigns. That gives him some level of legitimacy, even though a lot of the hard work was done by Jacob Fatu. I'm thinking Solo and Roman is going to have another match after this. I fully expect Roman's team to win this match. And then Solo is going to challenge Roman one-on-one because he pinned Roman in the tag team match. Roman pinned him in War Games. I would imagine he's going to pin him in War Games. And then they're going to need like a one-on-one match, probably for Saturday night's main event. If not the one in December, then maybe the one in January. And they're going to build around that. But they got to get Solo Sikoa out of the way. It's unfortunate. I'm always for pushing young guys for the most part and giving them an opportunity when they're ready or when I see something substantial in them. And I think that there is something there with Solo. I don't think Solo is completely terrible, but I just think that he's been over pushed. He has been put in this angle where he is forced to be the leader of men, and these men are more established than he is. You know, they have more experience than he does. And even though, you know, most of the WWE fan base have never seen Jacob Fatu before he came on WWE's television, he come across like somebody who has been doing this for a while. You know, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, they come across like guys who've been doing this for a while Jacob Fatu, not Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, he still has a little bit of that rookiness to him. But I don't want to denigrate him too much. But I do ask the question, what is he going to do once the Bloodline story is over? That's a question that should be, applied to everybody, to be quite honest. Especially the Tongans. They were brought in specifically for this angle. What are they going to do when this angle is over? I do expect The Rock to show up here. The Rock showing up at Survivor Series to further his angle could be interesting. But we need this angle to really be furthered, however. It can't just be he comes out, does a hand motion, and leaves. He's got to come in and do something. Something's got to shake. Because they have to sell Saturday Night's Main Event, 2 of them. And they have to have a massive push towards the Royal Rumble. They're going to have a really big problem pushing product with no pay-per-view for 2 months. They need these Saturday Night's Main Events to bang. They really do. So they need The Rock to be on one of them, or in fact, he probably needs to be on both of them. So he needs to come in here and do something. And if he don't do nothing but show up here and then show up on the 2 Saturday Night's Main Event shows, then we could be off to the races and this thing could work out just fine. If he doesn't show up, or he only shows up on one of those shows, it might not be as fun. But this is network television we're talking about with Saturday Night's Main Event, the NBC. He's going to want to be there for that. Just like he wanted to be on Smackdown, on Fox on network television. He's going to want that platform, that position. So I expect The Rock to do some kind of segment on Saturday Night's Main Event, and it needs to be set up here. I'm thinking The Rock should probably take control of Solo's bloodline. And you can do that by maybe writing Solo off for a while, and then The Rock kind of takes over. Or maybe The Rock and Solo make a deal. You could do something like that as well. But you have to weave it into the story somehow. And you got to get this thing rolling. Because right now it's just random Samoans fighting each other. And Solo is not a strong enough character to oppose Roman Reigns at this point in time. He's just not. Like Roman is in rarefied air, where when he does a job for Solo Sikoa, it looks like he's doing a job for a lesser talent. It's like when Hogan did a job for Kidman. It's like everybody sees I'm trying to help you. I'm doing you the favors, literally. Trying to elevate you. And people are just kind of skittish on that, because we haven't seen enough out of Solo to really invest in him. Now, he's been doing this tribal chief thing for 7 months. I wish he had done something differently, but I understand why it needed to be done the way that it was done. Because in order to get the heat, he's got to pretend to be Roman Reigns. But if he'd have been himself and maybe made the role of tribal chief his own, rather than mocking what Roman says and mocking what Roman does, and trying to be the same tribal chief as Roman Reigns, he exposed that Roman as a personality cannot be replaced. And you can't just put anybody in that spot. Which good for Roman. It's great for Roman, because now he can see that, hey, I'm in a unique position where I have the unique look, aura, and ability to pull off this character. Not everybody can do it. But it exposed Solo, as a guy who doesn't have enough personality, enough charisma, enough aura, and that's because he doesn't have enough years to carry a role like this. But at the same time, that's where the heat comes from. The heat comes from Solo cloning Roman. That's where the heat comes from. So I got Roman's team winning. Now on SmackDown, Cody Rhodes wrestled Carmelo Hayes. He obviously beat him. And then they had a video package where Kevin Owens explained why he was right with time and dates of Roman and the Usos trying to murder him. And yet he survived while Cody was either, one, not there, or two, in the building but didn't help. They built in this match for Saturday night's main event, which I think is a good thing. It's a big match for that show. Unfortunately, I just don't care about Kevin Owens. And you cannot make me care about Kevin Owens. It has not worked yet. I figured it. We all figured this out a long time ago. If you've been watching this show, you know Kevin Owens got ran over by a golf cart, got handcuffed by the Bloodline multiple times, beat with all sorts of weapons, including the floor. He's just been pounded and pasted again and again. We get it. We understand your motivations and your justifications and your excuses for your behavior. We understand. The issue here is you being a sensitive, pudgy little boy because somebody, well, I guess listen enough 50 Cent. You should know by now that if you side with the enemy at any point in time, you're the enemy now. So I guess that works. But Cody having a match on TV, that was a rarity. But I guess everybody was expect this to be some kind of coming out party for Carmelo Hayes because it was a pretty solid match. I looked at it like, well, he's already lost to Cody. Now he just lost to Cody twice. So, again, instead of utilizing somebody else to get, Carmelo Hayes over, he put him in there with Cody so he can lose. And he hasn't beaten anybody of note since he got there. So, heavens to Betsy, you're not building anybody. You're just using guys as a floor mat. And they just dripping all over them, So, it is what it is. But, like I said, outside of Gunther and Braun Breaker, I expect this to be a very babyface heavy night. Let me know what you think.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap. They distort so question as if you worship.